Stuff that you do on a daily basis would have freaked the old version of you the hell out. But that's just your new normal. That doesn't mean that you're still getting uncomfortable. That's you just created a new comfort zone. And you have to keep expanding that. You have to keep going beyond that. And it should give you the heebie-jeebies. It should, like, the change that you went through initially, where you broke away from the narrative and people gave you a hard time for being obsessed, that needs to keep happening. Like, it needs to keep happening at every single level. I'm not saying that you have to be in this constant push all the time, but it's almost like you're climbing a mountain. I want you to imagine, like, if someone climbs Mount Everest with oxygen, right? Obviously, if someone does it with no oxygen, they're a savage, but they're also someone that just goes straight up and down. Obviously, they'll stop to sleep or whatnot. But if you do it with oxygen, you have to get to certain base camps and levels, and you have to acclimatise. Otherwise, you get hypoxia, which is like, I think it's like not blood poisoning, but it's basically where like fluid gets into the lungs and you die. But basically, like, you don't live a good life, put it that way. And basically, when you climb Everest with oxygen, you have to get to a level and you have to acclimatise to the altitude so that your body can adjust to it, so that you don't get hypoxia and get really, really sick and have to come down the mountain. That's the way you need to imagine your journey, is like, you have to climb and then you have to acclimatise, but there'll come a point where you have to crack on and move, because you're staying and getting comfortable in a spot where you're not meant to stay there. You have to move on. You've created an environment that's unstable, that's volatile, that's predictable, which was great to get to there because you set these goals, but now it's time to move on. And this is the biggest misunderstanding for a lot of people when they're going through a journey of change. If you're a fan of the movie Spider-Man, Uncle Ben says it best: with great power comes great responsibility.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
A lot of people love the idea of the goals, the lifestyle, the physique, the health, the energy, the opportunities, the success in their career. And when they actually start doing it, the hard bit isn't the long days, saying no when you want to say yes. Like, everyone thinks they know what the hard bit's going to be. The hard bit is when you actually start succeeding and you start to experience the things of that person. So the envy from other people, the ridicule that you experience, people trying to put you down, the questionable things that happen. The bigger you are, the harder you fall, and the more you grow and the more you take on, the bigger your problems are going to be. So ultimately, you can't just get to base camp and go, this is my new home. You have to keep moving. Then eventually you're going to get to the top of the mountain, and then you're going to realize at the top of that summit, oh my God, there's a lot more mountains here. So I understand that you probably have an understanding of limiting beliefs and getting comfortable being uncomfortable. But I'm being honest with you right now, you probably don't realize the scale of how big this actually is. It never ends. And when you get to the top of that first mountain and your visor's lifted and you can see the horizon and the landscape of all the other mountains there, you will realize that this journey never ends. And for me, working with so many people, and like I mentioned earlier on, the people with the big egos, they're actually only on base camp 3, but they think they're at the top of the mountain. And anyone that thinks they know more than they actually do, that's the big telltale sign that it's the beginning of the end for them. The people that do best at whatever it is that I've ever surrounded myself with, I've worked with some of the best in the industry when it comes to business, physique, health, mental performance. And you know the common denominator between all of these people? They're so humble. They don't need to brag about what they do. They don't need to tell anyone about what they do. They just let their actions do the talking for them. So if you're someone that's like, you talk about how much you know, you talk about who you used to be, you regularly talk about all the things that you've overcame, you're focusing too much in the past. Like, you're just getting started. Yeah, you've probably achieved a lot, and I'm not taking that away from you, but you need to let that go, because that's your ego trying to protect you at the base camp. It's trying to keep you there. You have to remember that you're only acclimatizing there, but there comes a point where you have to move on, and you have to understand that there's always going to be beliefs that are trying to protect you, and they go a lot deeper than you're letting on.